everyone, and welcome to Lancelot's Nerd Corner. I'm Lancelot, and today I just wanted to run down a quick list of some figures that I really love. Now, Hot Toys has been around for a long time, longer than some might realize, and within that history are a lot of awesome freaking figures from amazing franchises and movies and TV shows that unfortunately newer collectors just probably are never gonna have a chance to get. Combine that rarity and scarcity with often inflated prices because of the time, and a lot of collectors just don't find it feasible or don't have a chance to collect backwards. That being said, I was lucky enough this year to snag a couple of just absolute, in my mind, grails. And so I just want to run down a quick list of the best retro figures that I was lucky enough to get this year. Starting with a figure that I actually recently retro reviewed, and that's Deadshot by Hot Toys. Now, the Suicide Squad film, the first one from David Ayer, yeah, it really wasn't that great. But something that I said in my off-the-cuff Tuxedo Joker video, I think still remains true, which is that almost all, if not all, the costumes in that movie had so much flair and personality to them. And in the case of Deadshot, I think it also had a lot of screen accuracy, or at least a look that you would expect to see from the comic books. And so there was something about that Deadshot that I just couldn't take my mind off. I never really intended to collect it. Like, it was never on my need list. Oh yeah, I really need this Deadshot. I was able to get it at a great discount, and man, does this Deadshot figure really hold up. I love the costume, love the practicality of it, that you can store almost all the accessories, a lot of which are just like extra magazines, so he looks like decked out all the time. You can store them all on his person. The guns were freaking badass. I love posing him with that assault rifle. The articulation holds up really well as the materials that Hot Toys use for his outfit, so that you can get him in like, an aiming down sights pose with the assault rifle, which it's so dynamic and so well articulated, and it was such an intricately designed and executed and sculpted and crafted costume. The head sculpts were fantastic too, the Will Smith one and the masked Deadshot head sculpt. Either one I think is really fantastic to pose and display with. So yeah, overall just such a fantastic figure that I think still really does hold up in 2023 and maybe even a couple years more. Next up on my list is an absolute icon of cinema, pop culture, and comic books, and that is Superman 1978 by Hot Toys. This figure was released all the way back in 2011. That is a long time ago, but 12 years later, that figure absolutely still holds up. Obviously, I wasn't alive in 1978 to see the film in theaters, but seeing the film and putting yourself in the mind of someone who would have sat there in 1978 and saw the things that they did in the film, saw this iconic comic book character put to life on the screen, I can only imagine the wonder that those people must have felt watching that on the big screen for the first time. And to this day, I think that movie is still my definitive Superman movie. And I would say Christopher Reeve is my Superman, as much as I don't really like saying my this, my that, like my Batman. I think it's kind of cringe, but yeah, for now, Christopher Reeve is absolutely my favorite iteration of the on-screen character. And so getting this figure, it wasn't cheap, but it was worth it. And I was so amazed at how well it still holds up. There is one big issue, though, which is the neck connector. It's actually cracked, and apparently that is a common problem that the Christopher Reeve Superman had, and still continues to have, I guess. But as long as you're careful with it and you're not posing it too extremely, there really isn't much fear of it just suddenly rolling off the neck peg. The head sculpt, by the way, was years ahead of its time. it had no right being that good for a 2011 figure. I guess maybe because Hot Toys wasn't overloaded with so many orders, they could really spend a lot of time fine-tuning and just absolutely perfecting that sculpt. And so that could be a reason why, but it's absolutely fantastic and definitely holds up even better, again, even against some current sculpts, but not a lot. Only a few particularly bad ones. It's quite a simple costume, and there really isn't much to it, quite contrastingly to the Deadshot figure, but the materials Hot Toys chose, it's like this very stretchy, soft cotton that they use for the whole suit, the trunks, the cape. I think they used a slightly different material, but it was still very lightweight, still very posable. And then lastly, that gorgeous display base of the Fortress of Solitude. I believe the base itself was made out of resin. It was very hard and solid and robust material that they used for that base. It's pretty heavy, and if it was resin, it explains how they were able to get such like intricately sculpted textures on the base itself, making it really look like, you know, ice and packed ice and stuff. And then you have these massive crystals that they did. I actually had a hard time fitting them in to their sockets, which is the only downside, I guess, of that base, but it absolutely looks fantastic, especially from afar. When you pose your figure with it, you're just like, wow, that is Christopher Reeve's Superman. That is straight out of the movie. And that is absolutely worth it after all this time. Next up on the list, we have what I would expect to be a pretty obscure character slash figure, and that is Ezio Auditore from Assassin's Creed 2, specifically by Damn Toys. Assassin's Creed as a gaming franchise has a really special place in my heart. I think it's actually one of the few gaming franchises in which I've played the mass majority of the titles in the entire franchise. I'm actually not sure how many gaming franchises out there can compare to how many releases Assassin's Creed has. For better and for worse, by the way. Assassin's Creed 2 falls into the former. It is one of the most universally beloved and critically acclaimed video games of all time, especially of the 2000s, featuring one of the most charismatic, exciting, cool, badass, emotional stories and characters of all time in gaming history, and that's Ezio. Now, this was the figure that really made me put some respect on Damn Toys' name, because the outfit is so out there and pretty complex. It's very much a period piece type costume, because the game is set in Italy in the 1400s, so very historical outfit. And there were a lot of like layerings and accessories and, you know, bits and bobs all over the outfit, some asymmetrical designs, and Damn Toys was able to nail every single detail while still keeping the outfit tailored very, very well. And on top of all that, making sure the articulation was good enough for an Assassin's Creed figure, putting it in dynamic fighting, assassinating poses. The head sculpt is pretty good. I wouldn't quite say it's Hot Toys level, but it's pretty good. The biggest gripe I guess I would have of the figure is the hood, which is a pretty big deal because that's like the whole thing of the assassins. They're cool, badass, mysterious, hooded individuals, but the hood on this figure is too puffy and too thick, so it looks a bit weird, and it's difficult to have it sit well enough on the head to where it hides the top of the face but still is able to show the bottom of the face. They were actually able to improve this a lot with future Assassin's Creed figures, fortunately, but this one, the hood could have used some work. And then on top of all that, you have some awesome accessories, the sword, the apple, the hidden blades. Man, having the figure posed, whether dynamically or standing there kind of like with his arms out, and having the hidden blades unsheathed It's so iconic. It's so amazing. It's so Assassin's Creed. And I'm so happy I was able to get this figure. And last but certainly not least, the #1 retro figure that I collected this year, which if you've seen my Instagram stories, which you should follow me on Instagram at Lancelot's Nerd Corner, you'd probably see this coming because I posted it on my story and I was freaking out. My #1 retro figure of the year is the one, Neo from The Matrix by Hot Toys. And I'm not talking about the new one, although I do kind of want the new one because I just love Keanu Reeves. I'm talking about the original, the motherfucking one. All right. I don't know if you can tell how I'm dressed, but I'm trying to get some Matrix vibes in here. What a film. What can I say that hasn't already been said about it? Actually, you know what? Shout out to 16 Figure Focus, Shane. He had me on an episode of Visions a couple of months ago, and the first thing we talked about in the live stream was The Matrix. This is a film that means a lot to me. It's a film that kickstarted my love for cyberpunk, for Keanu Reeves. It was a film that just blew my mind with the things that it did, both in terms of the story, the philosophical nature of it, the action scenes, kung fu, but also the lobby shootout scene and the slow-mo and the pew pew pew, guns, action, everything's practical. Bullet time, obviously one of the most influential techniques, effects to have ever graced the silver screen. The moral quandaries of The Matrix and what the implications that could have on our real world if we're even in the real world. All of that packed into one sexy, sleek, badass figure. Similar to the Superman 1978 figure, there isn't a whole lot going on with the costume. Pretty simple, black long sleeve, black pants, black overcoat. But wow, it carries such a presence, just like it did in the film. Oh, and the black sunglasses, of course, can't forget that. Super iconic. Everything is tailored so beautifully. The materials, the cotton that they used for the long sleeve, it's stretchy, it hugs the body, it fits perfectly, no ugly wrinkles or creases, you can pose it dynamically. Same thing with the overcoat, although it's not the same material, it still looks great and allows for great dynamic poses, especially because the bottom is lined with wires, so you can really have that thing posed flowing and spinning in bullet time. Whoa! The only thing I was really concerned about were the boots, because they were made out of like pleather or faux leather, and so I immediately popped those off and rubbed some 303 protectant on it to make sure that it doesn't peel. So far it hasn't peeled, thankfully, and I hope it won't peel because that would be devastating. And then it comes with that huge diamond shaped display base with the a print of the lobby shootout scene, the flooring, the tiling, as well as the backdrop. Although I haven't tried it with the backdrop, maybe I should actually. And just an absolute arsenal of weapons, all the ones that he used in the lobby shootout scene. I did attempt to have as many of the weapons on him as like it was in the beginning of the lobby shootout scene, but a lot of the straps on his pants are actually also made of pleather or faux leather. One of them was coming way too loose, so I was like, nope, I don't want to touch it anymore. And so I gave up because I didn't want to potentially destroy the costume anymore. So unfortunately, I haven't tried, and I don't think I really will try to get him fully kitted out, but it doesn't really matter because I put a fucking machine gun in his hand, put 2 pistols in his hand, he'll still look absolutely badass. And that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. That's my list of my favorite retro figures that I was lucky enough to get this year. Let me know down in the comments if you are lucky enough to get an awesome retro figure that you really love, maybe even that you consider a grail. Would love to know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram at Lancelot's Nerd Corner. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.